Hello Guerrilla marketers, this is the second lesson in the Guerrilla marketing course, and we're going to be talking about organic indexing. Submit to Google or Bing search engine submissions. So this would also include Yahoo because Bing owns Yahoo. Intro. Submitting your products to Google and Bing for indexing is easy after you have the account set up. URL submission to the search engines are free and are a necessary ingredient for a guerrilla marketer. This is called organic indexing. Now there's some preliminary steps before submission. Remember that your post or product or pages are not indexed until you submit them. Okay? So take your time and make sure first they are ready for indexing before you submit them. So what do we look for before we submit a URL to indexing? Well, we want to make sure that we've made good use of our keywords. Okay, now like last week's lessons talked about, I recently created a tool that will help us focus on our top 4 keyword phrases. The name of that post is Tool to Help Write Search Engine Optimized Content. If you Google that, I'll be the first one in there, or you could just go to A1 Website Pro and type in tool in the search. Now make sure that you do not have any more than one H1 tag in a post. Okay, so we know what a title tag is. We know what an H1 tag is. It's like a title tag. It's a subheading. So we only want one H1 tag. Now you can be generous with the H2 tags, H3 tags, just as long as they make sense within the content if you're going to go that deep. If you're just doing products, it's probably unnecessary to go that deep where you're using H3 tags, H4 tags. But just make sure that you only have one H1 tag in the post. You'll find out later why whenever we start doing search engine optimized inspections on web pages. If you have any more than one, it's going to confuse the search engine. It's going to confuse the search engine because they look for the title tag and the H1 tag to tell it what that page is about. Okay? This brings us to the Open Graph Protocol. Now, the Open Graph Protocol is geared towards social network platforms. Now, several content management systems have this already installed. It's just another set of meta values used by social media. We've talked about the meta tags, the meta title, the meta description in the last lesson. So when a person shares your post or product on a page in social media, that particular application or website like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn will look for this Open Graph Protocol to see if it exists. Now, the location of the Open Graph Protocol on our website is in the head tag. It contains several details about our post or products or pages and what it contains. Now here's an example of what an open graph looks like in the head tag. It's not very glamorous. It's just meta properties. And so we see here this first open graph meta property. OG stands for open graph, and there's a colon, and you're telling the open graph that's a title. It's called The Rock. And here's another meta property. It's an open graph type, and the content is telling the search engine that it's a video and that it's a movie. Okay? The next open graph property is the URL. That is where it is located at, right? And then the next meta property, we put in an open graph tag. It's an image, and the content, we have a link to that particular image. So this is a very basic rundown example of what Open Graph does for you in your website. Okay, it's all located right within these OG things. Now you'll have the meta title, meta description, but they look obviously a little bit different. They don't have the OG and then colon stuff like that or property. So why is Open Graph important to a guerrilla marketer? Well, because you can target different social network platforms. For example, I can instruct the search engines to display one thing with my meta title and meta descriptions. Then, when my post or product is shared on a social network platform, I can display something targeted to that particular audience. And here you see an example of our course on Facebook. So it all depends on what I put in the open graph. You notice this one and this one lead you to the same post, but the description is different, right? So here I'm targeting Facebook people, here I'm targeting search engines. Now, what if I do not have an open graph? If you don't have an open graph installed on your website, by default, the social media will fall back to your meta title and description. So if you don't have it, it doesn't matter, it's not all lost. It will just default back to the meta title and description. So that brings us to setting up for Google URL submissions. Okay, so what is URL? What does it stand for? Well, it's an acronym for Uniform Resource Locator. So it tells browsers like Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, so on and so forth, where the location of a particular web page is. All right? Now, after you have a post ready to go, you want to submit that URL or that Uniform Resource Locator website address to Google. So we'll go to this Google Search Console, and if you're on the post on the website, there's a little link with here on it. Now, if your website is not set up for the Google Search Console, you're going to have to set up that first. And here's a post for instructions to help you do that. It's a1websitepro.com/SERP indexing website, okay, internet. So you can find that there if you need to set it up, because I've already made a post with instructions on how to set that up. Okay, now once you are in the Search Console, look for crawl, then fetch as Google. And you can see them highlighted here. This is what the menu will look like. So you look first for crawl and then fetch as Google. Okay, you will then see a page open up. You want to look for this section. It'll be off to the right. Now, if you want to put the last part of your URL into this box. For example, on the post that you're reviewing, I would only put in submitting your products to Google and Bing for indexing, blah, blah, blah. So I only put the last part of that URL. I am not going to include a1websitepro.com/, okay, because they already have that a1websitepro.com/ first. So with Google, you just put the last part of the URL in there. Now, since Google displays different search results to smartphone users and then desktop users, it's necessary to submit the same URL twice, one for the smartphone, one for the desktop. So first submit your URL to the desktop search results by clicking Fetch. So put the last part of your URL there, make sure desktop is selected, and click Fetch. Okay, now you want to go back and do the exact same thing for your mobile smartphone. From that drop down, you want to hit mobile smartphone and then click Fetch. Don't worry about the other ones in that list. We'll get to that later. Now, after you do that, you want to look below there, and you'll see something that says Submit to Index in a table. You will have one for the smartphone and one for the desktop. You want to click on the desktop one first, which will be the lower one. Now, it really doesn't matter which one you click on first, but I usually do the desktop first and then the mobile smartphone. But whenever you click that button, okay, you're going to get a box that appears like this. You want it to crawl only this URL, okay? And then click Go. If you hit the second box, crawl this URL and all its direct links, it's going to crawl that URL and whatever links are on that page, okay? This is good whenever we're trying to index a category or the home page or a tag, okay? But since we just created this product and we're leading people directly to it, we want them only to crawl this URL. Okay, now submit your URL for the smartphone site. Within about 20 minutes, okay, you're going to see how you rank in Google by Googling whatever the name of your post is, whatever you put in that title, you're going to see where you show up. Now, it may take up to 72 hours before you get the real SERP, or search engine rank position. Now, there's no guarantee that you will stay in that same spot. New articles and posts are added every day. They get analyzed by Google, and they get put in their appropriate positions according to Google's algorithm, like we discussed last week. So, what is fetch and render? You might have saw that. Well, when you click on the button Fetch and Render, Google will show you how they see your web page. Okay? Now you have to click the little link to the website before you see this, but if you click Fetch and Render and you click on the link, it's going to show you what it looks like. Google will also show you how the mobile engine sees your website. So these are the exact same web page, you know. First you see how Google sees it, then how a visitor sees it on both sides. Okay? Now let's talk about submitting our URLs to Bing and Yahoo. Bing owns Yahoo, so when you submit URLs to Bing, they are automatically submitted to Yahoo. So you want to go to your Bing Webmaster Tools. If you do not have your site set up with Bing yet, you'll need to you will need this: a free Microsoft account, a Bing Webmaster Tools account. You'll have to verify your site with Bing. Now, for a complete lesson on using Bing Webmaster Tools, you can see this post: A Website Pro using Bing Webmaster Tools. So here's the instructions. Go to the Bing menu and look for Diagnostic and Tools, then Fetch as BingBot. Okay, once you click that, unlike Google, you're going to put in the full URL, not just the last part of it, but the full one. So I would put in a1websitepro.com/submit your products to Google and Bing for indexing in this entire box, and then I would click Fetch, and then that would be it. Then Bing will spider that particular web page and index it according to their algorithm. Okay. In conclusion, this lesson showed you how to submit your URLs organically to the search engines. Some tools that the search engine provides are also helpful to a guerrilla marketer. Now, we're going to be discussing them in the next lesson. But if you want to, go ahead and play around with those tools, see if you can figure them out, because we're going to be going over the data highlighter in the Google Search Console. We're also going to be going over SEO inspection on the Bing Webmaster Tools. So that's it. Until the next lesson, I'll see you then. This is Max with A1 Website Pro. Thanks.